Ladies and gentlefolks, it is I, the Great and Powerful Trixie. I have returned to give you a dramatic reading of mine own. Those fools Razor and Daedaltheus have nothing on I, the Great and Powerful Trixie. I shall show them what it means to do a reading, and I'll be reading something pristine, something grand, something well-known, something that will appease the minds and hearts of fillies and colts alike. I shall be reading Nyarlathotep by Howard Phillips Lovecraft. Let the Great and Powerful Trixie begin! Nyarlathotep, the crawling chaos. I am the last. I will tell the ancient void. But I do not recall distinctly when it began. But as it was months ago, the general tension was horrible. To a season of political and social upheaval was added a strange and brooding apprehension of hideous physical danger. A danger widespread and all-embracing. Such a danger as may be imagined only by the most terrible phantasms of the night. I recall that the people went about with pale and worried faces, and whispered warnings and prophecies of which no one dared consciously repeat or acknowledge to himself as he had heard. A sense that a monstrous guilt was upon the land, and out of the abyss between the stars swept chill currents that made men shiver in dark and lonely places. There was a demonic alteration in the sequence of the seasons. The autumn heat lingered fearsomely, and everyone felt the world and perhaps the universe had passed from control of known gods or forces to that of gods or forces which were unknown. It was then that Nyarlathotep came out of Egypt. Whom he was, none could tell, but he was one of the old native blood and looked like a fellow. The Felky knelt when they saw him, yet could not say why. He said he had risen up out of the blackness of 27 centuries, and that he had heard messages from places not on this planet. Into the lands of civilization came Nyarlathotep, swarthy, slender, and sinister, always buying strange instruments of glass and metal, and combining them into instruments yet stranger. He spoke much of the sciences, of electricity and psychology, and gave him exhibitions of power which sent his spectators away speechless, yet which swelled his fame to exceeding in magnitude. Men advised one another to see Nyarlathotep, and shuddered. And where Nyarlathotep went, rest vanished, for other small hours rent with the screams and nightmare. Never before had the screams of nightmare been such a public problem. Now that the wise men almost wish they could forbid sleep in the small hours, that the shrieks of cities might less horribly disturb the pale, pitying moon as it glimmered on a green waters and gliding under bridges, and only steeples crumbling against a sickly sky. I remember when Nyarlathotep came to my city, the great, the old, the terrible city of unnumbered climes. My friend had told me of him, and of the impeding fascination and allurement of his revelations, and I burned with eagerness to explore his utmost mysteries. My friend said they were horrible and impressive beyond my most vivid imaginings, and that what was thrown on a screen in a darkened room prophesied things none but Nyarlathotep dare prophesy, and that in the sputter of his sparks the air was taken from me, and that which had never been taken before, and yet shrewd only in the eyes, and I heard it, hinted aboard that at those who knew Nyarlathotep, looked on the sights which others saw not. It was in the hot autumn that I went through the night with the restless clouds to see Nyarlathotep. Through the stifling night and up the endless stairs to the choking room and shadowed on a scream, I saw hooded forms amidst ruins and yellow evil faces peering behind fallen monuments. And I saw a world battling against blackness, against the waves of destruction from ultimate space, whirling, churning, struggling around the dimming, cooling sun. Then the sparks played amazingly around on the heads of the spectators, and the hell stood up on end while shadows more grotesque than I could tell came out and squatted the shadows and squatted on the heads. And when I, who was colder and more scientific than the rest, mumbled a thundering protest about imposture and static electricity, Nyarlathotep drove us all out, down the dizzy stairs into the damp, hot, deserted midnight streets. And I screamed aloud that I was not afraid, that I could not be afraid, and others screamed with me in solace, for solace. We swore to one another that this city was exactly the same and still alive. And when the electric lights began to fade, and we cursed the company over and over again, and laughed at the queer faces we made. I believe we felt something coming down from the greenish moon, for when we began to depend on its light, we drifted into the curious involuntary formations and seemed to know about our destinations, through which we dared not think of them. Once he looked at the pavement and found the books loosened and displayed by grass, with scarce a line and a rusted metal to slew where the tramways had run. And again we saw the tramcar, lone, windowless, dilapidated, and almost on its side. When we gazed around the horizon, we could not find the third tower by the river, and noticed that the silhouette of this second tower was ragged at the top, that we split it up into narrow columns, each of which seemed drawn in different direction. One disappeared into a narrow alley to the left, leaving only echo of a shocking moan. Another filed down a weed-choked subway entrance, howling with a laughter that was mad. My own column was sucked toward the open country, and presently felt a chill which was not out of the hot autumn. For as we stalked out of the dark moor, we beheld around us the hellish moon glitter of evil snows. Trackless, inexplicable snows swept asunder in one direction only, where lay a gulf all the blacker for its glittering walls. The column seemed very thin indeed under dreamily into the gulf. I lingered behind, for the black rift in the green lit snow was frightful, and I thought that I had heard the reverberations of a disquietingly wail as my companions vanished. But my power to lingering was slight, as if beckoned by those who had gone before. I have floated between the titanic snowdrifts, quivering and afraid, into the slightless vortex of the unimaginable. Screamingly sentient, dumbly delirious, only the gods that were at will can tell. A sickened sensitive shadow writhing in hands that are not hands, and whirl blindly past ghastly midnights of rotting creation, corpses of dead worlds with souls that were a city's charmed with ends that brush in its stars and ache them flicker low. Beyond the world's vague ghosts of monstrous things, have seen columns of unsanctified temples that rest on nameless rocks beneath space and reach up to a dizzy vacuum above the spheres of light and darkness. And though this revolting graveyard of the universe has muffled, maddening beating of drums, thin, monotonous whine of blasphemous flutes from the inconceivable, unlighted chambers beyond time. The detestable pounding and piping whereon to dance slowly, awkwardly, and absurdly the gigantic, trembling ultimate gods. The blind, voiceless, mindless gargoyles whose soul is Nyarlathotep. And that concludes my reading of the Great and Powerful Trixie. How long have you been standing there?
From the moment you spoke my name.
But you're not real.
So say those that don't understand.
What are you going to do to me?
Nothing.
Nothing? Really?
Nothing. Just remember, Trixie. Just remember, you're treading fine ground here. Be careful what nameless things you speak of.
And he's gone.